threw my arm out in baseball, I was obsessed about golf. Like, oh,
Hmm.
that's all I wanted to do and practice, practice, practice. So that was kind of the thing when I found Fiori and I was obsessed about it. All I want to do is practice my craft and make sure it looks and feels the best it can be.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Wedgies podcast. We're here at Scratch Golf Lab again, as we're waiting for things to thaw out outside. We're super excited today, though. Have a really special guest with us. Obviously, remote, coming to us from Ventura, California, Anthony Wagner.
Thanks
Say
for
what's up
having
to the
me,
people.
guys. How we doing?
Absolutely, absolutely. Can obviously see the surfboards in the background there. We take it
Dude,
you're a big surfer.
yeah. Luckily, the last 2 days, wind's been really nice. Hasn't been the biggest, but it's been perfect out. It's been great.
What's the weather been like? What's temperatures been out there last couple of days?
It's finally warming up, but I mean, I know you get.
That's
So
what I
it's
want to
like
hear. I want to live my life through
probably,
you.
it's probably like around 68, almost getting in the 70s, but it's been dead wind, so it feels a little bit hotter than that. So it's
So,
been just super nice. And now, since we had the time change, sun's going down at like 7:30.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
perfect.
it's nice.
Yeah.
So obviously perfect weather for golf and perfect weather
Oh yeah.
for surfing. How do you make the decision between the two when it's a beautiful day?
Man. Well, the waves aren't always good, so it's more likely, you know, if the waves aren't good, I'm golfing. And then when the waves are good, it's all surfing.
There we go.
That's priorities. I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but we've got Anthony with us today because of Fiori, right? That's how we
Yes,
got
sir.
connected. That's why we're here today. I'm just going to turn it over to you, man. Let the people know what Fiori is, what it's all about, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Yeah, Fiori is a golf brand in Italian. It means flowers. And kind of our whole purpose is we want to make clothing that is multifunctional, as in, you know, it's not made specifically to go golfing. So I think something that's very important for golf and to continue to grow the game is something like how I look at it is the surf industry. When you compare the two, when a guy's going surfing, he's got his wetsuit and his board, and when a person's going golfing, he's got his polo and his golf bag. But when the difference is when that surfer's done, he's still representing some type of surf brand or the surf culture instead of, and people will recognize, oh, that guy probably surfs. It's hard to see somebody without wearing, you know, a Titleist hat or a golf polo, a crazy design or something, and be like, oh, he's a golfer. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's like we're trying to create that lifestyle for you to represent golf off the course as well.
yeah.
And
And I think
go
I
ahead.
think you're doing a great job at that because, I mean, that's what spurred me to get in touch with you. Is I was seeing some of the content that you were putting out. So like obviously from our position, like we're on social media quite a bit for work, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of that social media is golf, if not all of it.
Hmm.
So I'm seeing
Yeah,
stuff all day long, right? I think I told you this when we talked last, Anthony. But like I see ton of brands all day long, ton of content all day long, all in the golf space, right?
hmm,
And with COVID, like the really cool thing that we've seen is it exploded the game, right? And as a
exactly.
result, like demand for golf was higher because there's more people playing it, right? So the market grew too, not
Yep.
just for courses and stuff like that, but like the industry, right? More people were coming in than ever.
Yeah.
Um, and so like we've seen an explosion of brands, apparel, obviously, equipment, you name it, right, in the golf space. Um, a lot of competition too, right, as a result. Um, so standing out from the mundane, I think, is huge. And one of the
Hmm.
things that turned me on to you guys was first off, like your product offering, your catalog, and your designs. I think does a fantastic job at communicating to other people I'm a golfer, and it's not polos. It's not a tieless hat. You're not wearing a glove out of your back pocket. You're not wearing spikes on your shoes.
Yeah.
All of your stuff, I think, does a very, very good job at communicating I'm a golfer off the course. So I want to give you props to that first off, because
I
that's
really
what I
appreciate that.
visually saw on social.
Yeah.
And then as I dug a little bit further into it, realized that the product offering, the quality of it is pretty nice. And there's a lot of use cases that are baked into a jacket or a hat or a shirt or whatever it may be, right? Multifaceted, like you said before. So
Yeah.
I think you're doing a great job. At least you got me. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I mean it's really important to me to try to create the most, premium product I can at a reasonable price. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not making clothing just to put it out there. I want it to be unique, and feel special to the consumer to be wearing Fiori, and they feel great to be a part of Fiori. And I want them to wear it all the time. So it's got to be comfortable if they're going to wear it all the time. So that's something I strive to continue to always do. And we're hopefully soon too. I mean, I'm starting to, because I mean I've started Fiori. I mean I didn't start in I wasn't in the industry. I wasn't in anything. So I had to learn everything from scratch. And luckily along that way, like I found passion in design and creating. So I mean, that's why I'm here today, is because I found that passion. And, now we're moving on to trying to bring in now pants and shorts. It's a pretty tough one to get done. So I've gone through a lot of samples, but that's coming soon. I'm stoked on that.
That's honestly crazy though that you say that, right? Like you didn't come from that creative or design background and it's something that you've learned as you've gone.
Yeah.
Like most people that have a background in design don't even, hit the nail on the head. And I feel like you did it relatively quickly. I'm just curious, like what was that learning process like for you? Was it just a lot of trial and error? Was it, talking with friends and family, or what was that process like?
Well, it's just like I kind of just had to jump into it. Like I had once I like got, the name, the logo, the understanding of it, I was like, okay, now I could visualize this. I'm a very visual person, and my incubator is my car ride to work. That's where I think about everything. But I just, basically, I mean, when I first started, I literally drew the designs because I didn't know how to use Photoshop or Illustrator. So in the meantime, in those beginning stages, like, I mean, I would just make sure that I designed like 3-4 items a week. Not that I'm going to make them, just so I could, learn how to do it. And kind of from there, that's when I don't know, just that practice and repetition. I mean, it's like golf, me growing up playing junior golf, I think really taught me well in this part of my life now, because when I was trying to, I grew up playing junior golf, and I wanted to be a pro golfer. So like you had to grind. So I mean, Monday through Friday, I was golfing every day after school, and then on the weekends, golfing all day. So I think that repetition from those days has really helped me, stick to this and continue to go through the trial and error of things and figure it all out. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's just like that passion and drive to prove to myself that, I can do this, even though I, wasn't in this industry, know anything. If I truly care about it, I'm going to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm glad you went into it because we wanted to chat about kind of your upbringing in the sport and also in the industry. Talk to us. I mean, the golf landscape, I think when we were younger, was relatively similar, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't the coolest sport in the world. But what was the golf scene like in your part of California as compared to maybe where we're from here in Utah?
I mean, it was pretty laid back. growing, or I started at, it was called VCJJ. It was the Ventura Junior Golf Association. And that was back in eighth grade. Golf wasn't very wasn't
Yeah.
a big thing, but to me it was. I remember, because I grew up playing baseball, threw out my arm, couldn't play baseball anymore. So my brother was playing golf with his buddies. So I got back into the game and I was like immediately hooked because it was so hard and I love to practice, 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 practice. So that's how I got super, super into that. And then I wanted to start playing junior golf. And there was a lot of good players. The course, the high school, it's called Westlake High School, had a lot of good players come out of that high school, like Matthew Wolf.
Okay.
He went to Westlake. Sean Crocker. I have a story about him, but he's on the what do you call it, the European tour.
Mm-hmm.
But I lost to him in a playoff in the VCJGA. So maybe if I won that tournament, that could have been the difference.
It might have changed the trajectory.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it was fun. I had a great time, but it was a grind. And then especially when I got to high school, I got more of a social life and, that kind of
Takes away.
and I had a pretty bad falling out in golf. Like it brought me to my knees. I had an injury and then, my swing for like I had my first ever I was failing and I didn't know how to get out of it. And unfortunately I quit, which I recommend anyone who's younger to never quit something.
Yeah.
It definitely plays a domino effect on your life. And luckily, I found this brand in Fiori, and this is what brought me back, confidence in myself. And I'm just stoked to be creating and designing. So I'm super stoked.
I'm curious. Talk to us a little bit more about that. How has building a brand helped you find confidence in yourself again?
That's it's just interesting. Like, starting this whole thing, I had no idea. I think it was like the fact of nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows anything. So what do I have to lose? And in that process, like I didn't realize, because I took that first step, I realized that I love design. I love to create things. I'm very visual and I see everything that I'm creating and how everything's going to look. So that's like very intriguing to me. And, it made me work super hard to, figure all these things out. And I just took a lot of time, to myself and to regain that confidence, like back when I was playing junior golf or baseball. Like I was a pretty good baseball player, but yeah, like I said, yeah, I didn't have sorry.
I was just gonna say, just finding the small wins and things again, right? Like
Yeah,
realizing passions and developing those things, but then also, with Fiori, the little successes that have come over time. I think that's really cool, and I think golf teaches obviously a lot of life lessons, and I think
Yeah.
that runs a parallel with golf.
for sure.
And the lessons you've probably learned by quitting golf and finding that confidence through your brand maybe won't help you quit golf again, or maybe won't help
Yeah.
you give up on your business. And I think that translates to a lot in life, and so I think that's so cool.
Yeah, and like kind of what I was gonna like what you're saying is like when I went straight first into golf, threw my arm out in baseball, I was obsessed about golf. Like that's all I wanted to do, and practice, practice, practice. So that was kind of the thing when I found Fiori, and I was obsessed about it. All I want to do is practice my craft and make sure it looks and feels the best it can be, and I think that's how I got it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think golf is so interesting, especially now, because Anthony, when we talked a little while ago when we were connecting, we were both talking about what we just talked about, where like golf wasn't cool when we were growing up.
Yeah.
We realized we were pretty much the same age, and so we had we were in golf at a similar time and have similar experiences. with what it was then, and obviously with what it is now, right? Both being in the industry now, but not at like a tour level. Like when you and I had talked, we talked about, I loved golf. Golf was my thing. I wanted to be in golf, and it felt like at that time, years ago, the only answer to that was play professionally.
Yeah, yeah.
There wasn't any
Yeah, that's a
other
good point.
monetary opportunities in golf, right?
No.
It's very, very single-sided,
Or
very
teaching-
tunnel vision like
teaching
that.
golf.
Yeah, like
Sure,
you're a
like-
golf coach, you're a golf coach, or you're on the tour.
or you're on tour, both of which requires an immense level of skill.
Yes.
So I need to get that level of skill to be in golf, and if I'm not good enough, or if I don't reach that, there's no
Opportunity.
professional opportunity for
Yeah.
me in golf, right? Transitioning now to where we are, like that couldn't be farther from the truth now.
I know, it's crazy.
Right? And so I think your story is interesting because, I mean, your relationship with golf was, I want to be here, I want to do this, I want to make this work, and that was only
Yeah.
one way at the time,
Yep.
right? To then having it bring you to your knees, quitting it, shoving it aside, focusing on other things. Isn't it so interesting that now in this new landscape that we're in, you're back in it?
Yeah, dude, it's wild. I mean, I think about that a lot. But I mean, yeah, kind of coming out of college, that's when I started seeing, differences in golf. Because for a while, I mean, I wasn't watching golf. I'd only play a couple times with old high school friends, like during summer. But yeah, once I started seeing, like, I saw a specific brand and I saw it was like a lifestyle brand. I remember finding that, like, wow, that's so crazy. Like, how's this even possible? Because from what we both know, like, that just didn't seem possible. And then I started seeing, like, vlogging of golf. The PGA Tour seems different. There's more celebrities a part of golf. It just seemed like it was cooler. And that's not why I started this brand, but that was in the back of my mind, like, wow, that's really interesting. And yeah, so I mean, it's like now there's how many different avenues you could go in the golf industry. Like, it's endless.
100%. And I think I touched on this a little bit with you when we were chatting before too, but I mean, I was very much in the like, I think I'd be doing what I'm doing now. I remember, this is the weird thing. I remember one time, it was in elementary school. I can't remember the grade. I can't remember the teacher, but I've always remembered it, stuck with me. And the teacher was like, it was like during a career day or something like that, where they might have even had parents coming in saying what they did, but something like that. And the teacher or the counselor, whoever it was that said it, was like, hey, so like 80% of you will be working in an industry that doesn't exist yet, or in a vertical that doesn't exist yet, or in a job that doesn't exist yet, right? And I remember sitting there thinking, I'm like, no, we've already invented everything. I'm a kid, kid, right? And I'm like, that can't be real. Maybe like 10%, but not that. And then fast forward to now, I mean,
it's pretty true.
The fact that any of us are where we're at is, I mean, that wasn't there 20 years ago.
No.
And it's so funny that I think there's a parallel between your brand and ours, where it was the explosion of golf, really spurred by COVID, that allowed us to do what we do now, right? And that generated that avenue in that area for us to monetize the game of golf, be able to stay in it. And we're not teaching pros, and we're definitely not tour pros.
Yeah, no. I mean, exactly. And it's like, going back to it, my dad, was a big reason why I started this brand. And he was saying, like, you should do something you're passionate about, which he said surfing or golfing. That's all that I ever did. And now that I think about it, when I was thinking about golf, I was like, you mean like be a coach? Like, I don't think I could be a coach.
Thought, right?
Like, that's what I thought. I thought it was coach, or like my mindset was back when you were talking about. And then back in my mind about what I saw when I was graduating, college, I was like, oh, well, I see this movement in golf that's going on. Like, why not start a brand? Why not do it? Like, let's try. So, I got a book during COVID. It it was literally like how to start a clothing brand, something simple like that. And I was taking a real estate class, and I was super, um, I wasn't super into the real estate. So I gravitated more to this clothing brand idea. And then once from there, did all the paperwork side, which isn't very fun, but that's when I started creating and designing. And that's what made me stick to this and want to continue to grow this brand. And yeah, I'm super stoked. So also, like, a lot of our designs have flowers in it, but not the type of flower you would see in golf.
Mm-hmm.
Fiori in Italian means flowers. The reason why it's in Italian is my mom's side is from Italy, Firenze, Italy. And I thought it'd be cool to have something in Italian. So I looked up what flowers meant, because at the time I was like, oh, there's a lot of flowers in golf. Like, let's figure that out. And it was Fiori, and I was like, oh, like Fiori, that sounds really good. Like, I
Well,
like that name.
yeah, I think it sounds nice, right? And like,
Yeah.
it's kind of, yeah, like flowers aren't the first thing I think of when I think of golf, but I'm sure
No,
that the
no.
word grass in Italian isn't as nice as Fiori, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I meant like flowers as in like there was so many floral prints.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, oh, flowers. Like,
Mm.
that's what came to my mind. And yeah, it was Fiore. And our logo is a golf ball inside a flower on a golf tee.
Yeah.
Which, once I got all that together, I could kind of see what Fiore would look like and what kind of people, would be attracted to it. And, it's kind of the logo it makes people think like, what is that? And I
Right.
think that's something important for especially people that don't play golf to be interested in that and see like, oh, what is that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Fiore Golf. Like, oh, that's a golf brand. Maybe that might spark the idea in their head to be like, oh, this is what golf is. Like, maybe I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
And
And
that's the whole goal.
I think adversely too, it also lends itself towards that. If you know, you know, I can communicate non-verbally with you that I'm a golfer, and you know as well. Because
Yeah,
if you know golf imagery, or you're familiar with it, or in the game and play it, you'll be able to pick that out, and you go,
yeah,
ah, and then you'll be able to
yeah.
see, like, it's not so in your face, like it doesn't say Titleist across your chest,
No,
or it's
no,
not
no,
just a
yeah.
golf ball.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And so from across the bar, or across the restaurant, or whatever, or at the concert, I can see that and I can go, that's dope. This guy's stylish. Also, he golfs.
Yeah. And I think, in time being, like, let's give it 5 to 10 years, not just my logo, but all this movement in golf, people will be able to see somebody who's not wearing a polo or anything on the street and be like, oh, that guy's a golfer. And he isn't looking like a normal golfer, but that's what golf culture is now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think
I mean,
that's where it's going.
to that point, like, I I think what's been really cool, obviously COVID, we've talked about it, has really sparked it, but like golf finally has a culture,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
don't think it really did before because
Mm-mm.
Well, it did. I think it did. It was just an elite,
right,
Yeah,
right,
exclusive,
yeah, it's business.
inaccessible for a lot of
Yeah.
people culture.
which is what I was gonna
Yeah.
say, right? It was that older,
The country
kind
club,
of country club
Yeah.
exclusive type
which are
thing,
great.
which
Love country clubs.
yeah, definitely.
They are nice.
Yeah, but
But,
yeah,
in the same
exactly.
way that like Michael Jordan in the 80s and 90s really brought basketball to the mainstream, right?
Yep,
That
exactly.
followed with some, streetwear elements, and then skating kind of did it in the early
Mm-hmm.
2000s, right? And
Yep,
those things have really carried on, and I think golf is finally, for
getting
whatever
that.
reason, becoming one of those mainstream type cultures. So it's really cool to watch and
Yeah,
obviously be a part of.
Well, and
no,
how's
for
it been on
sure.
your end, Anthony? Like, obviously, we've talked on this podcast too about our thoughts about where golf is now, where the industry is now. Apparel's a huge part of it. We've seen a huge shift in apparel,
Yeah.
and also how like the Big Six market as well. But
Hmm.
apparel's a huge part of it, right? It's a pretty accessible entry point for a lot of people.
For sure.
How long have you been doing what you're doing, and how has it been so far for you?
It'll be 3 years September 1st, so I can't. I don't know. Yeah, so 3 years September 1st. But I mean, it's been great. to look back where I started and to where I am now, I wouldn't think this from when I started. Like, oh, or
Yeah.
like, I would be like kind of shocked. So, things are great. Fiori's growing. We're now getting into wholesale. So we're going to be in Korea, the UK, New Jersey, New York, and a couple in California. Um, some of those are already taking place, but we're working on the others. And I'm working on a licensing deal over in Korea, which I think will be great because golf is just
Yeah.
booming over there in Korea. So I'm super stoked on that. But yeah, I mean, going back to, the timing, like I said, I didn't start this brand because I saw, 100 brands getting into golf and golf is booming. But it was a great timing. I was lucky enough to have started that brand in COVID and, figure out all these different, avenues to keep the wheel rolling
Yeah.
and going. So, I'm very lucky and fortunate to be where I am today and
Yeah.
to learn the things that I have.
For
Because
sure.
I mean, pretty much this whole time, it's just me designing, creating, marketing, email marketing, all the different things.
Yeah.
And now finally just bringing somebody on board that's gonna help me with we're gonna create now, a strategic plan and where Fiore is going to be going and raising capital to scale.
That's awesome.
So it's great.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch back on something we chatted about a little earlier too, and you touched on it again, is just kind of two parts, right? Like the Korean golf market
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
where that's going, but then also combo that with icons, right? We talked about golf
Yeah.
icons, and I just
Hmm.
kind of want to have that conversation again because I find that so fascinating.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, like we're talking about, it's just when you look at the PGA Tour, it's just I don't see somebody who had the vision or look or feel that Tiger did. Obviously, the one that comes to mind is on the Live Tour now is Brooks.
Hmm. Yep.
He has that attitude to him, and who could back it up by his golf game. And I think who's dominating the sport obviously right now is people from Korea, and obviously that helps their whole market and growing the game of golf over there, which is great. But I think where golf is going, in the next 5 to 10 years, that kid who is the star quarterback is going to be the star pro golfer, and that's the type of people that That's why basketball and football are so big because these guys are just studs and they're athletes. Like
Hmm.
they walk, they just have the look. They have the athleticism,
Yeah.
and those are not saying that the people on the PGA Tour they might have that, but like in my mind, there's not somebody that is just like easily as watchable as what Tiger was. He had
Hmm.
that he had that
Swagger.
for
That.
him. Yeah, that
Yeah. Yeah.
swagger for him. Like that's what is so intriguing. So you know, I think it's in a good place, but I give it that 5 to 10 years, and there's going to be a couple of those guys for sure.
Yeah, and I think, kind of rounding it back out to where we first started is just that I think there are icons in other sports because those sports have been cool for a long time, right?
Yeah,
Like for years and
exactly.
years and years, kids have dreamt about being the star quarterback or the point
Yeah,
guard, right? Or
yeah.
the pitcher or,
Hmm.
hitting home runs. And that obviously naturally just fuels this flame of kids that want to be that and they become that.
Yeah,
And now that's starting with golf, right? Because, I mean, again, it wasn't the coolest sport in high school. We played it, but it's because it was enjoyable, not because we were trying to be somebody
yeah,
that it wasn't as
Ex-
aspiring as it is now.
yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
5 to 10 years from now, somebody's going to be
I think there's
up
going to be
there as well.
some big guys for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the amount of people that I talk to that, because Anthony, when I was talking to you, I was saying like I played basketball and golf and a little bit of tennis, but in high school. And I would just tell people I was on the basketball team because I had multiple people when I was like, oh yeah, I do basketball and golf. And they were like, oh, I didn't know we had a golf team.
Yeah.
Right? Like it
Yeah,
wasn't
exactly.
cool. No one was
No.
coming to either. There's a handful of parents there.
Yeah.
And so that's what we were doing. And like kids now, like with it being as accessible as it is, opening way more doors, being as broad as it is now, like you're seeing kids. And the interesting thing too is, I guess my original point was I've had multiple friends, multiple people tell me that they've gotten into golf in the last few years. Go, dang, dude, I wish I played golf when I was 8.
Exactly.
I wish I played when I was 6. I wish I played golf in high school. Like I wish I found it sooner, right?
Yep.
And it's not
Literally
really
every
fair.
one of my friends, every one of
Yeah.
my friends that used to hate on golf now are like, man, I wish I played
So,
golf when I was younger. So I
exactly
had the
what I'm
swing.
talking about.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because you got a head start on everybody, right? Now it's
Yeah.
cool. Everybody likes it. Everybody enjoys playing it, and they feel behind. And then
Yeah.
here you are having years worth of experience before them. They're like, man, if I could have gone, I wouldn't have played baseball, man.
I
would
still
have
got the muscle
People
memory.
say that stuff.
Yeah.
I've had people say that stuff to me, right? And it's like, man, that's so cool that you started
Yeah.
when you did, because yeah, you are kind of maybe a little bit better than some of the
Yeah.
people
And
that have
there's
recently gotten into it.
brands that are saying that about Fiori too. Like, man, I wish I would have started when they did, right?
100%.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like it's all a timing thing.
Yeah, I'm curious too on that point. How many of your surf buddies have you got into the game of golf?
So it's funny. I mean, everyone that I surf with, they all golf. They grew up. I mean, but these were also the kids that played football and they played baseball. But they still actually thought at that time, or no, they weren't really playing high school, but it was mainly a couple. There's like one friend in particular that stud football player, hated on golf, like it was whack, and then ended up being just so diehard about the sport that it's just
Always those
it's
guys.
wild to think about. But I mean, to that question, all my surf buddies, they all golf. Like every one of my friends that I play with, they all golf. And like the guy that the collaboration I did with Infinity, Dave, he's like so geeked out about golf, it's not even funny. Like it's just like he's like wants a simulator, he's got the putting green at home. His buddy too that he works with has got the same setup. Like people are like really into it, and that's super cool, and stoked that people see what we saw
Yeah.
back in the day.
Totally,
So
100%.
it's super cool.
Yeah, it's fun, man, and I like when we connected and I was chatting with you, and I was like, because I talked to a lot of people too in the industry that did only get into it a handful of years ago, right? Like after the COVID
Yeah.
boom, or right before it, or right after it, and so when I'm talking with people, sometimes I feel like I have to explain, like, yeah, dude, like when I was growing up, like golf wasn't cool, and that's why I'm so excited about it now because there's so much more opportunity, and they're like, yeah, like. I like
Yeah.
it now too, but it was nice connecting with you and talking with you because you're like, dude, I was there, like
Yeah, exactly.
literally like at the same exact time, and so like I didn't have to explain it to you. You just knew, like,
Yeah.
what's up.
And you guys honestly are the first people I've talked to in the industry that, like we're pretty similar of age. So like we, had that connection, right? So a lot of people have obviously their different stories, but it's cool that we kind of have a similar
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, and it's so funny to me, like so many people we talked to already on the pod, right? We've had guests from all over the place, and then obviously day to day talking to a lot of people in the industry, and it's so funny how like we can be like we're pretty similar. That's kind of rare, in all honesty.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
a lot of people
yeah,
that we
for
talk
sure.
to, as I'm sure it happens with you.
Yeah.
It's so funny that we can come from all these different places, all these different backgrounds, upbringings, experiences, and it's this stupid game that
Yeah.
nobody has mastered and nobody ever will.
No.
That's so hard, causes you to snap clubs over your knees, but then the very next week buy a new wedge and come back out and play
Yeah,
it again
yeah.
for some reason. That's the thing that we can all unite on and brings us together. And you can be in a room, dude, you can be in a room of 1,000 people all like stressed out and nervous.
Yeah.
And if you know one guy plays golf there, it's like you guys are chilling. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it's like that with
exactly.
every single person.
It
Like,
is weird.
it's such an interesting connector, such an interesting game, and I love that it is growing, that more people are getting into it, and that we can find that common ground.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, it's great, and I think it's great for anyone to play. I mean, now, growing up playing competitive golf, like my mindset going out golfing now is not how it used to be. I kind of
100%.
look at it as a business tool, in my opinion, or a life tool, because I mean, I still play the clubs I played in high school, all the
Nice.
same. And the reason I do that is because I used to play Mizuno MP68s. They're pretty much blades. I can't hit them like I used to,
Yep.
but I strive to one day get back to where I used to. I was like compressing balls all the time. My misses were, like that's a miss. Now it's like that's a miss.
Yeah, yeah.
But I look at it as like, yeah, it's just to me, it's a way of life, and it definitely will help you in your mindset. Like I remember even starting out, like in the beginning stages of Fiori, I would go to the putting green, just take my putter 2 balls and pick a 50-foot left to right swing and putt, and I wouldn't leave until I made that putt because you know in business, like, you're going to have your ups and downs, and how are you going to be able to react to this? Are you going to give up because it's too hard, or what are you going to do? And, I remember doing that putt and just keep putting, going back and forth until I made that putt, and then feel like, okay, well, that's what it's all about right
Yeah,
there.
we need to get like a brain specialist on the pod to just talk about the science behind golf and behavioral development and things like
Yeah.
that. Just as we were talking, I was like, man, there's not a chance that I won't get my young kids on golf early, because it teaches you how to deal with struggle
Discipline.
and up and down and excitement and anger
Yeah,
by yourself.
exactly. Yeah,
And there's
that's,
not a lot of other things that can teach you that to that degree, and it's freaking fun. So like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, it's weird that it gamifies like development.
hmm
So anyways, we should try and get someone on.
Get a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No,
that's the
but like
thing
it's
too.
great,
Like,
man.
I laugh about it, but like we've had people from all over the place on. And the cool thing about golf is like you can be a doctor, you can be a business owner, you can be a
hmm
surfer, you can be a this, you can be that, and also be a golfer.
Anything.
And that's not
Yeah.
weird. It's normal. It's more normal now than it's ever been. And you can come to common ground on that with people. Like I can't talk to a doctor about what happens in the surgery room. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
understand that. They're going to be on an elevated mental plane. But like,
Yeah.
if we're golfing and we're talking golf, like we can come
We
together
we
on
could
that. You know
connect.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And they could realistically be on the show.
Yeah.
Like
Brings the
that's
people
not
together, man.
exactly.
Yep.
So just like it did with us. And so I'm super happy that we could get you on. Thanks for carving out the time.
Of course.
You've been awesome. I wanted to say, let people know what's next.
Yeah. I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
I know
Where we go? Where is it going from here?
Yeah, I kind of talked about it, but like now, like getting into more wholesale, so we're gonna have, more retail, and it's gonna be great for people overseas because now they won't have to, that shipping that's
Yep.
like $60 for them, which sucks, but
Yep.
what it is. So now it'll be easier for them, and we're working on our new collection called the Destination Collection, which is all about traveling and comfort. So we're really stoked on that, and there's a lot of great pieces in that collection that I'm excited for people to see. And that will probably be hopefully at the end of May or early April. So
Nice.
stay tuned.
Tune in. Where can they find you?
At FioriGolf.com, Fiori Golf Instagram, and yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Nice. Well, we'll be definitely keeping tabs, and we'll check back in when we get the new drop. So
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm stoked.
sweet. Well, Anthony, dude, thank you so much, and we'll be chatting golf. We'll be chatting life. I'm sure again in the near future. So thanks for being here.
For sure, of course. Thank you guys.